Hey, Clemson family, it's time to look at the Tigers' quarterback situation in 2022 and the decision the coaches must make between two teammates. That's DJ Uiagalelei versus Cade Klubnik.
I'm Daniel Shirley. We'll also break down the Louisville game and take a look at Clemson's most recent commitment.
I'm Bill Zimmerman. Welcome to episode 11 of the Supreme Alway podcast. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out. We'll keep you caught up on analysis of all the latest in Clemson sports. You can find us at clemsonkickoff.com or on Twitter at Clemson Kickoff. A lot of you are finding us on YouTube where we post our audio, so thanks very much for that. That's youtube.com/Clemson Kickoff. We're on all the biggest podcast apps as well. Let's get into that Tigers commitment, the latest one in the football class of 2023, and it's yet another player from the state of Georgia.
The Tigers have been busy in the Peach State in this class, and that continued this weekend with the addition of Robert Billings. He's a safety from Alpharetta and Milton High School. Talented young guy. He's going to add a lot to this safety group and this secondary. Can't wait to see what he's going to bring to this class.
Coach Mickey Kahn handles the safeties. He's co-defensive coordinator as well, and he's got those North Georgia roots, doesn't he?
He does. He coached at Grayson High School in Metro Atlanta, and he's doing a great job recruiting. Just another, like I said, just another talented Georgia player in this class. Clemson's gone heavy in this Peach State in this class, and that continued with Billings.
Seems to be considered more of a depth guy, not necessarily a quick impact or early career starter from what I'm reading about him.
He's been seen as more of a 3-star, maybe a high 3-star as we get into the rankings of the players. I've seen some places he's been a 4-star, but mostly a 3-star. But, Bill, we've seen Clemson add those guys, and then they develop maybe a little bit later, but they do develop, and they become really good players for the team. So I don't have any doubt that he's going to be a good player for the Tigers.
Assessing talent typically hasn't been a problem as far as the secondary goes and really throughout the defense on this Clemson team in recent years. So we'll see if defensive co-coordinators Wes Goodwin and Mickey Kahn have hit the jackpot on this one as well down the road. Let's get into those quarterbacks, though. A lot more fun to talk about than safeties, and the battle between DJ Uiagalelei to hang on to that starting job and freshman Cade Klubnik coming in trying to take it.
This is the storyline of this preseason, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think that's what most people are going to be reading about and looking forward to as the team gets ready for the season. And they start practice on Friday. This is what everybody is going to be talking about. And with good reason. I mean, look, DJ struggled last year. I don't think anybody would argue that he didn't. And Cade Klubnik is a talented young man coming to join this program. And anytime fans see 5-star next to a player's name, they get excited about it. So it's understandable that that's going to be the main storyline for this season. I don't think there's any chance that DJ doesn't start the opener. I believe he's the starter going into the season and is really going to have to play his way out of that spot.
We've talked in past episodes, and we'll get into a little bit more later. There is more to it than just how does Uiagalelei look versus how does Klubnik look in order for Clemson to get improved production out of the quarterback position. But I do think a lot of people have compared this to Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence the year Lawrence was a freshman, and I think the gap is wider this time. Sweeney has a lot more good to say about Uiagalelei's skill set. He's talked about how he's proven it on the field in certain situations, especially those 2 games he played as a freshman and the Notre Dame game in particular. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, how much leash Uiagalelei has. His spring game didn't look great, but then again, neither did Klubnik's. And the running element may have handicapped Klubnik a little more in the spring than Uiagalelei. But if the receivers are better, if the offensive line is better, that's going to be the 2 major ingredients to help Uiagalelei improve his production, and something that neither quarterback can thrive without.
The comparison to Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence is a little lazy, to be honest. I get why people do that, but this is a different year. This is a different team. These are 2 different young men. These are not the same young men as those 2 guys. And Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. So let's stop with that because it's not the same thing. But I do feel like DJ played a big part in the struggles last year. It's an 11-man game in football on the field. It's not one man at a time, and you don't blame everything on one player. But DJ has to play better. The offensive line has to be better, especially in the middle. And when you're a quarterback and you've got people in your face, it's hard to play that position. The wide receivers have to be better. Way too many drops last year. It was just really frustrating to watch the wide receivers play last year. And then DJ's got to be healthy. And, we heard about the knee and the finger, and then there were some shoulder issues as well. So all of those played a factor. And then DJ didn't play well either. And you could tell, Bill, that he lost his confidence during the season. So there's a lot of factors that play into that. I'm really interested to seeing how DJ responds this preseason. He's done everything right during the offseason. He lost the weight. I've heard great things about him since the spring game. Leadership during the summer, we're hearing great things about him. So I've got really strong hopes that he's going to have a good season. And yeah, I think we'll see Cade play, but I don't think we'll see him take DJ's job, at least early in the season.
I think when you look at Cade Klubnik, he's just not quite on that Trevor Lawrence level of polished passer ready to just step in and do the job. And let's be fair, you look at Trevor Lawrence, I believe it was week 2 they played against Texas A&M. He had the touchdown pass to T. Higgins. He had some nice moments, but he wasn't making the offense churn. He wasn't moving the chains as well as Kelly Bryant was that day. And Bryant certainly was not the product that Uiagalelei has as far as passing skills, as far as the pedigree that he comes in with. Really seems to me that Uiagalelei has the better shot of improving here than Klubnik coming in and being better than Uiagalelei. We do know, however, that Coach Dabo Swinney, at any position on the field, including quarterback, says game recognizes game, and whoever earns the job is going to be the one getting the snaps and leading the team.
Well, he's going to play the better player. Now, that could be a good comparison of the Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence situation. Trevor didn't play great in that A&M game. He had the long touchdown pass to T. Higgins. I believe that was on his first throw in that game. I remember vividly in the championship game or after the championship game, Dabo said, my job is to play the better player. And whoever's the better player out of these two is going to play the majority of the snaps.
Someone else getting a lot of discussion is Hunter Johnson. I don't expect to see him much on the field this year. I don't know about you. The initial inquiry there between him and Dabo Swinney when they were talking was, hey, looking for a GA gig, but I do have that COVID year, and that's kind of what brought him into the quarterback's room. I'm just not sure how much we'll see him on the field.
I don't believe Hunter's going to play very much this year, Bill, unless it's a blowout, end of the game kind of a thing. If he does play, it could be a problem for this team if he has to be on the field a lot. But I do think he brings a lot to this team. At least it's a depth play where there was no depth at quarterback last year, and he brings a lot of experience to that room. And look, let's be honest, that room is lacking in experience a little bit.
2 other guys returning to the quarterback room, Hunter Helms and Billy Wiles. Neither of those figures to play prominently, much like you said. If they're in the game, you're either way ahead or you've got a lot of injury issues going on in front of them. Both heady ball players, both with talent, but just not on that Power 5 level that a school like Clemson is looking for, trying to make a playoff run. So it really does seem to come down to Uiagalelei and Klubnik. No secret there. Do you predict that Uiagalelei holds the job all year long?
And I know things didn't go well last year, but if you see how much he's trimmed down, even since the spring game, you even hear Cade talk about him, that they have high hopes for DJ. So I think you're going to see him play better. I think the offensive line is going to be better. The receivers are going to play better. And I feel like the scheme is going to fit him better. So I really believe this is going to be a bounce back season for DJ. Is he a Heisman finalist and all those things that people talked about him last year? Maybe not, but I think he's a lot closer to that than what we saw last year.
Another year in a consistent system, and I know Tony Elliott is gone and Brandon Streeter moves up and Kyle Richardson goes to tight ends and John Grass is going to be in that consultant role. There's still a lot of continuity there, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names, should be a lot of familiar messaging. The thing that the coaches have talked about is simplifying the offense. And quite frankly, yeah, I know he had a splint on his throwing finger. I know he had a bad plant knee, but quite frankly, one of the best things that Uiagalelei can do is improve decision-making, and the continuity that persists among those coaching changes really could help in that regard. I do think we'll see a lot of both guys early on. I think the coaches will want to get Klubnik his reps. I think they'll want to get him some experience in case he's needed for emergency, for whatever reason. but I do think Uiagalelei will be the starter early on. I think he'll have a long leash, and I think unless there's a critical situation during the NC State game, we'll probably see Uiagalelei take the helm at that point and really solidify his role with running the offense. We mentioned that knee injury that happened last year against Louisville, and that will be one of the kind of tier 2 challenges for Clemson this year. It may not be Notre Dame or Miami, might not be NC State, but I think Louisville has the talent to sort of be up in that discussion with Wake Forest of can they come in and pull off the upset against Clemson. Head coach Scott Satterfield enters his 4th year with the Cardinals. He earned a lot of praise in his first year. He went 8-5. He finished 2nd in the ACC Atlantic, but 2 losing seasons since then kind of took some of the steam out of the Louisville football program.
They did, and I was surprised by that too. Maybe people forget about what you did the first year, but they do have the quarterback. Malik Cunningham is a really good player. He's a dynamic talent, and you can tell the other guys on the offense like playing for him, and that's a big piece of the puzzle for this Louisville team going into this season.
He has shown some level of improvement every year. I wouldn't say he's ever taken any giant steps forward. He will pair this year with a new offensive coordinator, so maybe that will benefit him. Former Notre Dame running backs coach Lance Taylor comes into that role. There wasn't a lot to gauge from the spring game because much like Clemson, NC State had several players held out of that game due to injury, including Trevion Cooley, who's their top returning running back.
Cooley's a good player, and if he can stay healthy, that's a key as well. We would talk about Cunningham and how talented he is, but you need that running game to pair with him because the quarterback run and the play action is such a big part of their offense that you need Cooley there to give the defenses something to think about. So we'll see how healthy he can be because he's a big piece to what this offense wants to get done.
They showed a good receiving core last year, and Tyler Hudson was among the guys who also earned rave reviews in the spring game. But the big question mark for Louisville is the defense. They gave up more than 400 yards a game last year, more than 27 points a game last year. Defensive tackle Caleb Banks looked really good in that spring game. According to SI.com, he was breaking through double teams and making impact behind the line of scrimmage. Safety Josh Minkins was doing much of the same. Linebacker should be a strength. Most of the core returns there, and there are 10 players overall who started at some point last year. Just wasn't a good year for this defense nonetheless.
No, the defense struggled, and that was the key to their season last year and key to their struggles because their offense was good enough to win a lot of those games, but the defense just did not get the job done. And that includes the Clemson game last year. I know Clemson did not have a bunch of yards, but Clemson scored 30 points in this game last year with an offense that was having trouble getting 20 points in a lot of the games. So I know that this was not the offense that Clemson fans have grown accustomed to, but it still had a pretty good game last year up in Louisville. And DJ scored late to give Clemson the lead. And then obviously we know the Clemson defense held on at the goal line. But I thought DJ played okay in that game. He did get banged up with the knee, but he played well at times against Louisville. And I think he'll play well in this game too, now that he's healthy.
You know, I remember actually thinking that Uiagalelei kind of threw the ball better after that knee injury, after he came back into the game with a brace on. And I thought, wow, maybe that's like helping him get back into his fundamentals. Maybe something funky had been going on prior to that. So he definitely did well in the face of adversity there. Still led Clemson to 338 yards. I bet a lot of schools would like for that to be the down game, right? But Louisville had 397, and they also had Cunningham out for a spell of that game with an ankle injury that really might have changed the complexion of the game.
Probably did. And Clemson's defense didn't have its best game in that game, but it stood up at the end and got the goal line stand. And Cunningham was back in the game at that point. So this is going to be an interesting game. Bill, these Louisville Clemson games, a lot of them have been really close. And there's 3 Clemson Louisville games since Louisville joined the ACC that have come down to goal line stands by the Tigers defense at the end, and they've gotten the job done in each one of those games.
Well, that'll be week 10 at home, November 12th, taking on Louisville. It'll be sandwiched in between the road trip to Notre Dame and then a home game again the next week against Miami. The Clemson locker room is going to need to focus in order to come out with a win here, not be distracted by what happened the previous week or what happens the next week. Like you said, Louisville finds a way to play Clemson tough more often than not.
They do. And again, I like what Satterfield has done with this program. I believe that Louisville will get back on track a little bit this year, more like the team it looked like in Scott's first season.
All right. Well, we're also keeping an eye on developments with the baseball team, with the football team. As more recruits or transfers make their decision in either sport, we'll let you know. Also, that basketball trip to France coming up, we will bring you the latest on that and take a look at how things are looking in this offseason for the men's basketball team.
I can't wait for practice to start on Friday. I continue to look for transfers for the baseball team, see if the baseball team is going to add any more transfers. Really excited about the other fall sports this year, Bill. I mean, look, we've got a soccer team that's a defending national champion on the men's side, and the women's program is really, really good. So can't wait for the games to start, and they're getting closer by the day.
Don't turn all your attention to the Major League Baseball trading deadline this week. There's plenty going on in college sports as well, and we'll keep you plugged in about all the most important developments on campus in Tigertown. Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this, and we are glad you found us, Clemson family. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube or hit follow on the podcast platforms. We just want to keep you posted every time we have news to discuss. Give us a like, give us a rating while you're at it. That's great too. Our homepage, clemsonkickoff.com, got some great resources there as well. Check it out, all our important links, and you'll find us on Twitter at Clemson Kickoff. We retweet and give quick hit opinions in real time. We're also on Facebook at Reign Supreme Alway. Until next time, I'm Bill Zimmerman.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Go Tigers.